Page 68. Reading 1. Informational Text. Social Studies. Ancient Kids.
Growing up in ancient Greece.
When a baby was born in ancient Greece, the father performed a ritual. He did a dance holding the newborn baby. For boy babies, the family decorated the house with wreaths of olives. For girl babies, the family decorated the house with wreaths made of wool. There were many differences in the lives of boys and girls as they grew up. One main difference was that girls did not go to school and boys did. Some girls learned to play musical instruments. Mostly, girls helped their mothers with chores in the house or in the fields. They didn't leave their houses very often. Sometimes they went to festivals or funerals. They also visited neighbors. Girls stayed home with their parents until they got married. Girls' fathers usually decided whom the girls would marry. Boys stayed home until they were 6 or 7 years old. They helped grow crops in the fields, and they learned to sail boats and to fish. When boys were about 7 years old, they started their formal education. They went to school and learned reading, writing, and mathematics. They had to memorize everything because there were no school books. They memorized the poetry of Homer, a famous poet. They also learned to play a musical instrument, such as the lyre. At school, boys learned about the arts and war. They also learned how to be good citizens. At the age of 18, boys went to military school for 2 years. Children played with many toys, such as rattles, clay animals, pull toys on 4 wheels, yo-yos, and terracotta dolls. Children also had pets, such as birds, dogs, goats, tortoises, and mice.
Growing up in ancient Rome.
When a Roman baby was born, a relative put the baby at the feet of the father. The father picked up the baby to accept it into the family. The baby was named 9 days after birth. The oldest man in a family, the father, the grandfather, or an uncle, was the head of the family. However, women were also important to family life. They managed the house and household finances. In the early years of ancient Rome, women did not have many rights. In later years, they had more rights. They were allowed to own land and to have some types of jobs. They could manage some businesses, but they were still not allowed to hold jobs in the government or to become lawyers or teachers. Girls and boys wore a special locket called a bulla around their necks. The bulla protected them from evil. A girl wore the bulla until her wedding day. A boy wore the bulla until he became a citizen. A boy became a citizen at age 16 or 17. The family had a big celebration on this day. Some Greeks lived in southern Italy and Sicily. The ancient Greeks had a cultural influence on the Romans. Greek teachers introduced the Romans to the Greek gods and goddesses, and to Greek literature and philosophy. School was not free. Most children in ancient Rome were not from rich families. They were poor. In poor families, parents taught their children at home. Many poor children did not learn to read or write. Rich families sent their children to school at age 7 to learn basic subjects. Girls did not continue in school after they learned the basic subjects. They stayed at home, where their mothers taught them how to be good wives and mothers. Boys from rich families continued their education in formal schools or with tutors. They became lawyers or worked in government. What did children do after school? They played with friends, pets, or toys. Toys included balls, hobby horses, kites, models of people and animals, hoops, stilts, marbles, and knucklebones. War games were popular with boys. Girls played with dolls. They also played board games, tic-tac-toe, and ball games. What kind of pets did children play with in ancient Rome? Dogs were the favorite pets. Roman children also kept birds, pigeons, ducks, quail, and geese as pets. Some children even had pet monkeys.
Growing up in the ancient Maya culture.
The Maya lived throughout parts of southern Mexico and Central America, including Belize and Guatemala. They built large cities and created extraordinary art and architecture. You can visit the ruins of some ancient Maya cities, such as Chichen Itza, in Mexico's Yucatan region. In Maya culture, the father was the head of the family. Maya men worked hard to support their families, and they paid taxes to the government. Women in Maya society cooked, made cloth, sewed clothing, and took care of the children. When a boy was about 5 years old, the Maya tied a small white bead to the top of his head. When a girl was about 5, the Maya tied a red shell around her waist. When boys and girls were 12 or 13 years old, the village had a big ceremony that marked the end of childhood. During the ceremony, a priest cut the beads from the boys' heads. Mothers removed the red shells from the girls' waists. After the ceremony, boys and girls could get married. Young men painted themselves black until they were married. Maya boys and girls, unlike Roman children, did not have to pay to go to school. They learned from their parents, too. Girls learned how to weave and cook. Boys learned to hunt and fish. Children also learned how to grow crops, such as corn. At age 17, boys joined the army to learn about war and fighting. Children played games, and they played with toys. Some of their toys had wheels. Surprisingly, the Maya did not use wheels in their work or transportation. However, toys, such as animal pull toys, had wheels. Animals were important in everyday life and religion. The Maya used animals in their art. They decorated various items with pictures of foxes, owls, jaguars, hummingbirds, eagles, and other animals. The Maya sometimes ate dogs, but they mainly used dogs for hunting. The Maya thought that dogs could guide people on the journey to the afterlife. This is why they buried dogs with their owners.